This video was made possible by Good Better Best Tuition Services. Please subscribe to this channel to keep up to date with all the latest videos. Today we are going to be covering our fourth and final lesson in the geometry of straight lines, and we are going to be covering more complex examples today. So let's look at the drawing below. We know that according to our laws we must know our fuzzy x or our fun skills. No additional skills required at the moment, but in terms of strategies we know we must always be active and we need to look for our fuzzy x within the given diagram. In other words, we need to look for our f, our u, our z, our y and our x. So let's see if we can answer angles 1 to 6. Let's see if we can find them. See if you can find angle 1 for me, and let's see what reason you have. I'd like you to find an angle that is corresponding to angle 1. Pause the video and see if you can do that. So angle 1 will be equal to 54 degrees. It is corresponding to the given angle of 54 degrees. Let me draw out that F shape for you. So angle 1 will be equal to 54 degrees. If you look at what I've highlighted, there's your F, and this angle will be equal to that angle because they are corresponding. Now let's see if we can find angle 2, but I'd like you to find an angle co-interior to angle 2. Let's see if you can do that for me. So we know that co-interior angles, they have the U or the C shape. So we can say that angle 2 will be equal to 180 degrees minus 54 degrees, which will be equal to 126 degrees. Why? Because these two angles here are co-interior, and we know that co-interior angles add up to 180 degrees. Let's look at angle 3. Now find an angle alternate to angle 3 for me, please. Now we know that alternate angles are, it's the N or the Z shape. So if we have a look at this, do you see that shape? So that angle will be equal to this angle. So angle 3 will be equal to 54 degrees because the angles are alternate. Angle 4 will be equal to 126 degrees because the angles are adjacent supplementary. Remember we said that when angles are on a straight line they add up to 180 degrees. So those two angles will be equal to 180 degrees. So 54 plus 126 will give you 180 degrees. Can you find an angle which is alternate to angle 5 for me? Let's see if you can. In fact, there are two angles which are alternate to angle 5. Let's see if you can find both. So here we see, if we follow the red lines, we'll see that angle 2 is alternate to angle 5, but angle 4 is also alternate to angle 5 because AB is parallel to EF, but it is also parallel to CD. So angle 5 will be equal to 126 degrees. And lastly, angle 6. Now remember, I've asked you to find an angle that is adjacent supplementary to angle 6, and what angle would that be? That would be angle 5. Angle 5 and angle 6 will add up to 180 degrees. Therefore angle 6 will be equal to 54 degrees. Let's have a look at the next example. So let's look at example 2 where you need to solve for x, y and z. Now if we look at our laws, skills and strategies, we need to know our fuzzy x. We also need to know triangles. Triangles will be covered in the next video, so please have a look out for that. But we'll cover your basics, very quick basics in this lesson. What skill sets do you need? You need to know how to solve an equation. Strategies, like I said, we are going to be active when it comes to geometry. In other words, when we find an answer, we fill it in on our diagram. And the second one is we always look for our fuzzy x. We also look for triangles in this case. So how are we going to solve for x? You can see that this is an isosceles triangle. Let me just unpack that for you. In an isosceles triangle, we have two sides which are equal to each other. This is how they will mark it if the two sides are equal to each other. That means that the base angles, this angle and that angle, will also be equal. Okay, so in an isosceles triangle, we must know that the base angles are equal. So if that is 40, that one will also be 40. If that is 50, then that will also be 50. But we also need to know that the three angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So if this is an isosceles triangle as indicated here, it means that our base angles must be equal. So if that is 50, then this angle must also be 50. That's correct. So in order to solve for x, we need to say 50 plus x plus 20 is equal to 180 degrees. Why would that be? Because there are three angles of a triangle, and three angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So there's our statement with our reason. What do we need to do now? We need to solve for x. So what does that mean? We want x on our left hand side and we want everything else on the right hand side. So we find that x is equal to 180 degrees minus 120 degrees, which is equal to 60 degrees. Now let's solve for y. Angle y will be equal to 50 degrees. Why? It's corresponding, angle y is corresponding to this angle here. And both angles are below the line. It means that this angle will be equal to that angle. And then of course AB is parallel to CD. Can you find an angle alternate to angle Z for me? Alternate to angle Z. Here's angle Z. See if you can find an angle that's alternate to that angle. So in alternate angles, we look for the N or the Z shape. And what did we find? We found that that angle was equal to 80 degrees. Why? Because originally it was x plus 20. And what was x? X was 60 degrees, meaning that this angle will be 80 degrees. So if this angle is equal to 80 degrees, it means that angle Z will also be equal to 80 degrees. Let's write that down. Let's look at one more example. In this example, we are required to solve for x, y, and z. So let's look at our laws again. We need to know our laws of fuzzy x and also the laws pertaining to triangles. Our skills, we need to know how to do equations, and then strategies. We've got to be active and we have to look for fuzzy x and triangles in this figure. So let's go ahead and solve for x. We know that x plus 2x plus 3x must be equal to 180 degrees. Why? Because they are angles on a straight line, and angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So let's set that out. So let's solve for x. So 6x will be equal to 180 degrees and x will be equal to 30 degrees. So that one will be x, which is 30. That will be 2 times 30, and that will be 3 times 30, which is 90. Let's solve for y. Angle y is alternate to this angle here. So if that is 60, then y will also be equal to 60 degrees. Let's find angle z. Angle Z will be 180 degrees minus 90 degrees plus 60 degrees, which will give us 30 degrees. What's our reason? Three angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. That's correct. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time. Also, if you need tuition in maths, English, Afrikaans, physics, or accounting, we are based in Lotus River, Cape Town, and we'd be more than willing to assist.